In a lot of ways, this is just a Honda Pilot for people who don't need the third row, say people who have a smaller family or might not have a family at all, but want a, reliable Honda SUV. The outside part of this review will be very quick because, like I said, I do compare it later on to the Pilot side by side. Good looking front, pretty aggressive there. You'd be excused to think this color is black, but as you can see up close in the bright sun, it's actually got kind of like a brownish tinge to it. We'll check out the engine a little bit. Do like these black rims there. A very good, sporty, athletic profile, and I like I'll tell you in a bit how they cut the lights here. Looks otherwise a lot like a Pilot. From the back, though, I like the dual exhaust there as well. This kind of gives it a more sporty, athletic look. It's got the roof rails up there as well. Let's check out that engine while we're here. There it is, set fairly low and back. There, not too much to talk about. A lot of it's covered in plastic, but there's a lot of space up here in front of the engine, which I thought was kind of interesting. Pretty standard, not too much to look at. It's Honda's standard earth drive with, IVTech, which is like variable timing and stuff like that. So there we go. Here's, pretty standard for the class and kind of price point in this vehicle. Some of the plastics aren't like the greatest, but overall it's nice. This is padded and squishy. And up here you have like let me turn the fan down just so you don't get any of that noise. Kind of like a padded like dash look, trim, things like that. I do like, compared to the last Pilot updated this, or I reviewed this, has the updated gauges. They look more futuristic. You have a trip computer in here. This 23.6 is kind of good average of what I drove over the last week or so. That green is for the like tree, things like that. It's a little confusing how the fuel door and the trunk are like right next to each other. Sometimes, at least when you first get the vehicle, you'll probably like pop one or the other by accident if you're not looking, especially. Some cup holders and storage here. Storage is really a good area on this vehicle. There's this here, but I'll kind of just work my way around to that. Nice screen here. It's definitely very bright, very easy to use with the touchscreen. No systems, nothing like that. There's actually a knob for volume, which Honda brought back. They've done away with it in some of their cars, so that's nice. Kind of a home button. Pretty easy to find your way around what you need there. Tri-zone climate control. There's climate control in the back as well, which you can kind of program and do what you like with there. You can option cooled seats on, which was nice in the summer. Again, this little storage, you can do wireless charging available too right there. This at first I bemoaned, but you do get used to it the more you use it. You just pop it back here for reverse, park, neutral. You don't really go into neutral too much, and then drive, sport. Let me show you these modes for like traction. On the traction control system, there's normal, snow, which is pretty nice and pretty handy. I think that's probably what the most off-roading this vehicle will do. And then mud, and then of course there's a sand mode. So it gives you some idea of some of the capacity this SUV will do. Some light version of. Let me know if you've ever off-roaded one of these, because that's one of the big benefits of this SUV over the Pilot. Being shorter back there, it has some better approach angles, and it's actually higher than the Pilot as well. So yeah, coming around back down here, there's this very nice kind of looking material here. It almost has like a carbon fiber. I don't know how to describe it. It feels nice. It feels kind of neat too. Let's see how the storage is down there. There's more power and more USB, as well as an aux input there, and an extra power charger there, things like that. This is lit, it looks like. Don't know what that would be. I think actually that's probably for lighting as well. But yeah, pretty deep. It goes fairly far back, so lots of good storage there. Then of course a large glove box, and the door storage repeats. I don't believe the Pilot, at least the one I drove, had this where there's kind of like this X pattern in the seats. Kind of neat. I do like these as well. These kind of captain's chair feels up front, and it's nice to lean your arm here and have that as well as that armrest. So nice. And then in the back, the space is pretty similar. It's technically bigger here than in a Pilot, but it's pretty darn close. Then we'll show you that back later on and stuff when we compare the two side by side. You get some vents and a USB charger and stuff back there. Luckily, I had the Pilot and the Passport back to back, so I got to give you more info in the driving review. The fronts are kind of different grille, different bumper there, and you can see the air intake's different because of that, things like that. More grille area on here. I think it looks sportier on the Passport. Let me come around to the side here. The sides are a lot closer, actually than the front. Obviously this one has different wheels and rims and things like that, but pretty similar design on the side overall. Coming around the back, the headlights, or the tail lights rather, are different. They look the same here with these up, but the Pilot has some more light on the part that goes up there, whereas this one, it just ends right there, which kind of actually gives it a more sporty look when it's down, which I'll show you later. And then they just put the reverse lights down in there for this guy, whereas on that one, they're up there. So pretty similar there. And coming around to the back here, storage area with the seats down is going to be a little bit smaller on the Passport. Let me just show you the Pilot. Here it is. Here you can see with these third row seats down how this part's bigger, and I'll overlay the numbers and difference in that. Pretty close though. It's a pretty close SUV overall. I'll quickly show you the side of the Pilot, but more I'll just talk about later how they drive and if the Passport has any like off-road advantages, things like that. So they look very close. They're very similar vehicles overall, just, one's made for different audiences, I guess you'd say. Kind of mentioned, yeah, the lights are different. I think this one looks kind of sportier because, you don't have that extra little bit there. This looks more luxurious and elegant, maybe you could say. But otherwise, yeah, the width and height and things like that are pretty similar. For some reason, even though this Pilot has all-wheel drive, it looks lower. I noticed that in front too. I'll have to kind of overlay the heights of the vehicles and stuff. I'll also briefly very much touch on the steering wheel, which I kind of normally don't, but I thought it was kind of interesting. I like how they segregate or like kind of separate the different controls. Like here, everything is mostly relating to cruise control and the smart drive systems this SUV does have. It's not like autonomous or anything, but there's some nice safety systems you can get. And then of course there's this heated steering wheel you can option on. And then this is all for like the trip computer here. So this all controls up there, like volume, very simple, very easy to use in your phone and voice control, things like that. And of course you get this nice leather look as well there. So that's pretty much all there is on that. Coming up here very briefly, frameless mirror and moonroof controls, things like that. There's like an SOS Honda Link type system, and this is always fun to point out. If you have this, you can keep an eye on your passengers in back there. A very simple but easy, elegant solution. I believe it actually came over from the Odyssey minivan, which this is loosely based off of, just like their Ridgeline truck and the Pilot and everything. And of course you can get sunshades in back there, which is nice to help keep it cool and things like that. And then of course you see those speakers there. It's a really good stereo. There's surround sound. It's actually a good non-branded stereo. I've been very impressed with that. There's a subwoofer, there's a center speaker there, very adjustable. It's got DTS neural like surround sound and stuff like that. So definitely a good upgraded sound system on here I would recommend. Interior, this is normally kind of like a white. If you put your foot on the brake there, see it turns white, and then once you start the car it turns red, and you do get this little graphic there. Let me show you that little to show that's all digital screen in the middle there and stuff like that. So that's kind of neat and cool as well. I would be remiss if I just said, hey, this drives a lot like a Pilot, just a little bit, differently because of the size difference and a small weight difference, which I couldn't really feel, that driving it. It's a little bit quicker, things like that. But if you've never driven a Pilot, for example, that wouldn't be doing you any great service. So the steering is okay. I mean, by SUV standards, it's fine. It's a little bit loose. There's a sport mode, but it's for the transmission, not the like steering and stuff like that. There's also an eco mode, which is like a little tree, which I talked about. I leave that on for everyday driving, but if I have to merge onto a highway or do anything quick, I try to turn that off to get a little bit more power. Suspension it feels a little different than the Pilot, and it might be configured a little different, so you can do like off-roading and things like that with the car. It's pretty good. The ride is comfortable. It's a little bit jittery. Again, I feel like it's a little bit more jittery than the Pilot, having driven both kind of back to back and stuff like that. But it's still like not bad in any way at all. The brakes are good, and like I said, the acceleration, it's a pretty quick SUV. It's not like fast, but again, it's definitely not slow or anything like that either. It'll get you as much speed as you'd really need for an SUV and things like that. So I definitely enjoy it. I got to take it on a bit of a small road trip, and it's definitely a good SUV and a good vehicle to drive. It has a certain Acura feel to it, in a way. The Acura is just a little bit smoother and more refined, but I think they've done a lot of work to fix this transmission, it feels like. So any issues there are now gone and things like that. So let me know down in the comments if you have any other questions, but overall, definitely a good SUV. If I was buying, like, I probably wouldn't buy like a mid-size SUV. I would buy like a small sporty SUV if I didn't need the space, or I'd buy like a larger, a third row, like a Pilot or a CX-9 or something like that. Where I had that extra capacity. I'd probably go one way or the other. But as this goes, as that middle size of SUV, it's very, good and competent and scores well in its class, I would say. Well, next time, my speedy racers, drive on.